I'm Haley Taylor, and you're listening to the Rough Draft Diaries. This episode of the Rough Draft Diaries should really have been recorded outside, or maybe it should be listened to outside. This week we're talking about some of the painted murals around the city of Toledo with the women who helped organize their creation.
My name is Rachel Richardson, and I am the director and CEO of Art Corner Toledo.
Rachel began this organization when she was the co-director of a Toledo-based nonprofit called Independent Advocates. They work with domestic violence survivors in the Lucas County court system. It was through this job that Rachel saw a deep connection between the engagement of artists and the local community, and she hoped to create more options for them to get involved with the underdeveloped areas of Toledo.
Since 2010, Art Corner Toledo has predominantly coordinated murals, so large-scale paintings on the outside of buildings, on the outside walls, typically on the outside, sometimes on the inside. In Toledo's central city neighborhoods, we have gone as far out as Point Place for one project, but typically we are in downtown, the Old West End, the Junction neighborhood, the Owenny neighborhood, and I think that's pretty much it. We did branch off into West Toledo for a project with the museum last year, the year before.
As Rachel lists the neighborhoods and organizations the Art Corner has worked with, maybe the images of these murals are popping up in your mind. Maybe you're thinking of the mural on Detroit and Highland Street, where there's geometric shapes and bright colors, and a profile of a face painted in bright orange reaches out with an open hand. Maybe you're thinking of the Amaze Wall mural on Adam Street, or the Sanctuary for the Ghost of Moses mural on South St. Clair Street. It's wonderful that there are so many murals in Toledo that each listener may be thinking of a different one. But the Art Corner had to begin somewhere, and that was in 2010, when the organization was created and got its first mural commission.
The very first Art Corner Toledo project was actually a suggestion made to me by then director of Toledo Grows, Michael Zaberla. There was a plot of land behind Manhattan's on Jackson that was designated as a Toledo Grows garden, but it hadn't yet been sort of worked. Michael suggested that there was a wall in that lot that could use a mural. So I put together community donations from businesses in Uptown, Manhattan's, Manos, to paint a mural on that wall. So an artist named Har Simrit Singh painted that mural, and the following year, that garden became a place. People came and worked the land, and they built raised beds, and there are birdhouses and more murals, and all of these things happened in the wake of that mural. So not only was that wall decorated nicely, but life began to grow from that point, that corner, if you will. So I became hooked on the product, on the wake of what happens in the wake of a mural. That just sort of has been the key to find a point that needs a little bit of beautification and see what happens after. The work of a mural is often done after the paint has already dried, is what we usually say.
Since that first project, the Art Corner has developed a system for commissioning new work. At first, Rachel would ask a business owner to use their wall space, raise the money for paint and equipment, and send out an artist call to find the person with the right skill set. Now businesses are approaching the Art Corner, and at times they're asking to collaborate with specific artists, people even outside of Toledo. The process in which these murals find their way into the walls of Toledo and how they impact the community around them is something that still surprises Rachel to this day.
It's kind of a phenomenon. I mean, people just gather around a point where love and creativity has been injected. You know, it brightens the corner, but then it also sort of brightens the spirit of the people who encounter it. There's something about it that people can connect to, and it inspires or sparks something in them that they can carry forward.
Although Rachel feels like she can only guess as to how or why the people of Toledo are responding to the murals, she does have an answer for why she considers these murals so important to the community of Toledo.
Personally, from my very personal experience, to be in a home, to me, means to have art on the walls. So that's why I have felt compelled to paint the walls of downtown Toledo, because I spend a lot of time there, and I like to look around and feel as if someone cares enough about it to make it beautiful. I've heard a lot of people say that when you're in a place with a mural, it's obvious that people there care about their community, and I just think that's something that's important to show in a very public way.
So if you have never experienced one of the Toledo murals, but you'd like to, and you don't know where to start, don't worry, because Rachel can help you out.
Okay, I have a very blatant favorite that I used to be like, oh no, they're all my children, I love them all the same. But no, I have a favorite. It's at Adams and 10th Street, or maybe it's 11th, I can never remember. It's directly across from the library. And it's a black and white line drawing of a woman's head. And there are little men on ladders crawling up her face and placing her earring or placing a star in the center of a circle on her cheek. I think it's just gorgeous, and it really captures my imagination the most of the pieces. I think that it, rather than being like about a neighborhood or a community thing, it's like art for art's sake. It's just, look at this beautiful drawing. And besides that, I grew up with the piece, and so I've lived inside it my whole life. I've always been one of those little men crawling up the ladder, or it definitely captures the imagination.
I'm Haley Taylor, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Rough Draft Diaries. Rachel's choices for the next episode of the Rough Draft Diaries include
Megan Davis, who is the founder of the Kitchen Salon and also the Natural Hair Expo here in Toledo. Candace Harrison, who is the marketing director at the Toledo Museum of Art. And Merce Culp, who is an artist extraordinaire, fashion designer, just a fabulous individual.
You'll have to tune in next time to find out who I pick on the Rough Draft Diaries.